Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My Karen wife is refusing to help with our baby. After that, entitled Dad threw away all of my childhood possessions. And after that, am I the jerk for firing an employee for driving his personal truck to job sites? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to raise her own baby. Thanks, but I'd rather watch Netflix. So please smash that like button. And subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My Karen wife is refusing to help with our baby. She has been evaluated for PPD multiple times by multiple doctors, and she does not have it. I, 28 male, have been with my wife, who's 29, for 7 years. I love her with all my heart, but I'm really upset with her right now. A little over a year ago, my wife announced that she was pregnant. I'm not going to lie. I was jumping for joy at the idea of being a father. She was on the pill, and to my knowledge took it perfectly, but I guess we fell into that 1% where birth control fails. I suggested not having it, but she wanted to keep the baby, so we went through with the pregnancy. My whole view has changed now that my son, who's 5 months old, is here. All of my worries and apprehensions melted away the first time I held him. However, I realized very quickly that my wife was not doing her share of childcare. We both work from home, but I'm the only one who gets up when he's crying to feed, change, or soothe him. She didn't want to naturally feed him, which is totally fine, but she has only fed him a handful of times in the past 5 months. She refuses to get up at night, so all of his nighttime care is on me. I can count on one hand the amount of diapers she's changed. I was lenient at first because I understand birth is very taxing on the body and can be traumatic. But I have seen no improvement in the past 5 months despite talking to her multiple times and telling her I need help. I'm exhausted. When I bring it up, she says she'll try harder, but she never does. Obviously, PPD and other such mental health issues were an immediate concern, but all of the doctors we went to said she doesn't fit the criteria. She loves our son, cuddles him and plays with him, but doesn't do any of the hard work like feeding and diaper changes. She's not gotten up at night a single time. I reached the end of my rope yesterday when my son would not stop crying. I was doing my best to soothe him, and my wife had the audacity to look up from the TV and complain that he was being too loud and to take him in another room. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I yelled at her and told her she's being a horrible mother. She was deeply upset by this and went to stay with her parents, leaving me and my son at home. Now she's calling me a jerk and has my in-laws texting me and calling me to tell me how much of a horrible jerk I am. I'm just so tired. I feel like a single parent. I do feel bad because I know what I said was mean, but I am also so angry that she's enjoying the good parts of parenting while I'm stuck with the hard parts. She goes out with friends and does fun things and partakes in her hobbies while I stay home with our baby. I have not gotten a day to myself in 5 months. Am I the jerk? Edit. She has nothing medically wrong with her, mentally, physically, or otherwise. I see a lot of people suggesting that something must be wrong, but I'm telling you, she has had mental and physical checkups and is completely fine from a medical standpoint. No PPD, no hormone imbalances, no mental illness. I don't know how many times I have to make this clear. You're the jerk. So your wife is pretty much acting the way that most dads do. But let me guess, it's too shocking for you because she's a woman. Honestly, men act that way and get away with it constantly. It's about time that us moms get a break while you dads step up and at least try to be a parent. Also, no matter what you're throwing a fit about, you have no excuse to yell at her. That's a major red flag, and I hope she dumps you. She deserves so much better. Have you considered a night nurse and/or a nanny? You mentioned that she came from a wealthy family, so she's probably used to having things taken care of for her. You are absolutely not the jerk for having this all come to a head, but if she's not going to put in the work, either you or someone else has to. She's shown you that she's not going to do it. Your options are to continue at your status quo, leave, or find some help to get through this if you want to stay together. Can you lean on her family to help support this? Not the jerk. Look, bud, as parents, we always have duties to fulfill. Your wife isn't playing her part as a mother. I know I'll get downvoted to heck for this because we're on Reddit, but she needs to do better. If she isn't willing to change her ways, which she's proven by now, you should not stay with her. Good luck trying to get custody of your kid, what with you being a man and all. We all know courts aren't big fans of us when it comes to custody situations, but if your kid stays with this sorry excuse of a mom, it will have a seriously bad impact on their upbringing. Please do everything you can to get custody of your kid when you leave, and try to find a good life partner who can be the mother that your kid deserves. Edit. Holy downvotes, Batman. What I love the most is how, if the roles were reversed, y'all would be calling him a deadbeat dad. But of course, since the mom is the lazy deadbeat, you all stick up for her and make excuses. Reddit Logic 101. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. Wow, she sounds even lazier than you are, Reddit boy. Entitled Dad threw away all my childhood possessions. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. My parents always made it clear that when you turn 18, you're out of the house. Whether you're off to university, moving, or just homeless, they don't care, but you're out. They did it to all my siblings, and what do you know? None of them want a relationship. I was 16 when the last one left, so it was just me and them. Since 5 kids from the ages of 54 to 18 didn't want any relationship, they tried a little harder with me. By that, I mean I was allowed to eat 3 meals a day if I wanted, but I had to do the meal planning, shopping, and cooking. My dad ate oatmeal in the morning and granola at night. My mother ate 1 meal a day at 8 p.m. and only made food for herself. I was able to get new shoes once a year instead of waiting till my toes and heels were showing. Just little things like that. But I guess old habits die hard, because when I turned 18 and went off to uni, they couldn't get my stuff out of the house fast enough. They basically tried to push me to take every single possession and shove it into a dorm room. Not just clothes or books, but my actual futon bed. Yup, didn't even get a real bed until uni. My photos, anything and everything. Of course, that wasn't going to work, and I told them so. They said okay, box it all up. So I did and put it in their storage unit. Within 1 month, they had taken down the walls of my bedroom to make their living room a massive space. So on holidays, I could choose to sleep on the one couch where my dad would wake me up at 4:30 when he woke up, or I could beg a friend for a place to crash. I spent most of my free time at friends because of this. I just felt they hated me being there. Finally, I graduated and my parents split up. I helped move them out and my boxes were moved to my dad's McMansion. When my grandparents passed, he basically stole all their money. None of the grandkids got a dime or a single memento, which I know my grandparents would not have been okay with, and he got $4 to $5 million. So he bought a flashy car and a giant house. At this point, I had 8 small boxes of stuff. It took up no space at all in his place. We're talking tiny boxes. But one day he texts me and asks me if I want anything from my boxes. I've recently moved to the other side of the country, and he had years to broach this. But he waited until I was 1,000 kilometers away after I just helped him move to ask if I could get rid of my boxes. I asked him to just pop them open and we'll FaceTime and spend 20 minutes talking about it. He says, "Oh, you don't want any of this stuff. It's over a decade old, and that he should put it on the curb for the garbage men already." A list of what he tossed is as follows. All of my baby photos from ages 0 to 13. All my personal items, books, photos, gifts, letters from Granny, Christmas presents from Gramps, all gone. All my clothes from when I was 15 to 18. I wanted to keep a few sentimental items I already had written down. He just tossed them before he asked. He only asked because he felt guilty that he had done it and expected I'd say I didn't want it. He hates possessions. He has absolutely nothing in his house but a desk, a futon, a bookshelf, a computer, and a camera, all in one bedroom of a 5-bedroom, 4-bath. Edit. Since I've gotten so many comments about this, I asked if I could keep them in his house. He said yes. If he had said no, I would have rented a storage unit. He only asked me to get rid of them after I left. He could have told me before, but he waited till I left and then tossed them, and then after he tossed them, he asked me if I wanted them. Which I could see him doing, just to be cruel. Kinda like, "Oh, you wanted them? Well, I threw them away," jab. I was already making plans for alternatives, and he just tossed them without giving me time to move them. Edit 2. Why didn't you take the boxes with you? Because I live in a tiny, tiny space in the most expensive city in my country, so I didn't have a lot of space, and he has a house so large that you can play a full game of tennis in the living room. He also said I could keep them there when I moved, so I trusted him. Edit 3. Why did they have 6 kids if they obviously didn't want them? My mother, according to my father, liked how people treated her when they saw she was a mother. She didn't consider my first 2 siblings as real kids because she was their stepmom. So she told my dad she wanted kids, but he had gotten snipped after the first two. They adopted two kids. The second they arrived, she realized she didn't feel that they were her real kids. So he got his snip reversed, and then they had my brother and I. But she actually hated being a mom and basically ignored us all, except for being a cruel monster to the adopted and stepkids. My older brother was the golden child, as he was her only real son. He's a monster in his own right, and even he got kicked out at 18. I was just the lucky one and was treated like a ghost in the house. When I was 16, my dad was finally starting to realize he was a jerk when the other 5 cut them off and told him why they cut him off. But he never wanted kids. He just did it because she said she did, which is almost worse in my opinion. Like, if you had the kids, then commit to it. Am I the jerk for firing an employee for driving his personal truck to job sites? I own and operate my own contracting company. I've been in business for almost a decade now and have almost 50 people working for me. I usually ask that my workers drive to the office in the morning and take company vans or trucks to job sites, but I understand that isn't always the easiest option for people, so I do allow them to drive personal vehicles to job sites if they need to. However, there has been one guy, Steve, who I have gotten a few complaints about from customers. Steve drives a big, lifted, customized truck. It's a nice truck, and I know he takes a lot of pride in it. But the thing is, it's covered in political stickers. Now, if you work for me, I don't care what your political views are, as long as you're good at your job. And Steve has been with me for about 5 years now, and he's good at what he does. He's knowledgeable and efficient, and overall has been a quality employee. But Steve has been driving his truck to job sites pretty regularly because his kids are in daycare, and it's easier for him to drop them off in the morning and then go directly to a job, rather than to the office. We've talked about this, and I approved it to make it easier for him. Normally, this wouldn't be an issue for me, but the last 3 customers that Steve was working with complained to me that he was parking his truck in front of their house, and they weren't comfortable with the political messages on his truck. The last one even took pictures of his truck and posted it to social media and tagged my company in it. I had a talk with Steve about driving his truck to jobs and told him that he's going to need to come to the office in the morning and take a company vehicle. He complained about the hassle of dropping off his kids, and I told him he's going to need to figure that out. But for now, I want him to leave his truck at the office as it's causing me and the company headaches. He complied for the rest of that last job, but when we started a new one last week, he started driving his own truck again. Sure enough, 3 days into the job, and I got complaints from the customer about Steve's truck. I had another talk with Steve and told him that this was no longer negotiable and that I am requiring him to take a company vehicle. He accused me of discriminating against him, and it turned into a heated argument. We both said some harsh things, and I eventually told him he was fired. He has since posted a lot of negative stuff on social media about me and my company. He has also talked to a lot of my employees, and some of them have taken his side and think I was in the wrong to fire him. I've had to hold a company-wide meeting about this, and I have revoked the option to drive personal vehicles to jobs, and now we require everyone to take company vehicles, no exceptions. Now I have people upset with me for taking away that option when they never got complaints, so maybe I'll have to revisit the idea. But I don't think I was a jerk for firing Steve. Not the jerk. I'm gonna make a wild guess as to those stickers. If he turned up at my door with all those stickers on his truck, I would turn him away and never use your company again, because I would assume that that was the company culture, which I refuse to support. That's my line of thought. OP even says himself he's getting some social media flack for Steve's beliefs. If Steve wants to proudly display his insecurities to the world while working, he can find a company that supports those. I've stopped using companies with those stickers, stopped going to restaurants owned by people who spout those beliefs. They're working really hard at removing the United part of the US. I'm not going to reward them with my money. I'd see those stickers and would 100% assume it was fine with the company. And I'd tell friends. No point in telling the company because enough of those types are violent. Not the jerk. The amount of people saying otherwise is astonishing to me. In fact, you let him drive his truck to job sites until it became a consistent problem. Then you addressed it. Then he did it again, and it was yet again a problem. So you attempted to explain it and retain him, but he started crying about it and essentially forced the issue. It's your company, your name, and the money and PR involved affects everyone, not just you. It was a business decision, pure and simple. You can require people to drive company vehicles to job sites, Just like you can require people to wear company shirts to job sites. Sure, one person might love an employee's bumper stickers, but another person most assuredly will not. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Steve? Please let us know. Employees can save themselves a lot of heartache once they realize their company is there to make money, not for them to express their personal views. Customer demands coworker's personal number. About 20 years ago, my small company merged with another small company from another state. The other office closed and the employees were relocated to our office. Our office is on the east coast of the US. The other office was in a time zone 1 hour behind ours. One of the new coworkers had to leave about 30 minutes before 5 to meet a vendor fixing something in their new house. About 5 minutes before 5, one of the other company's customers called us and I answered the phone. She wanted to talk to the new coworker. I told her that coworker was not in the office and offered to take a message. This led to a long argument. The customer was from the west coast of the US, which is 3 hours behind us. The customer started by demanding to know why the coworker was not there when it was not even 2 p.m. I explained the time difference. Then she demanded my coworker's personal number so she could call her at home. I explained that I was not going to give out personal information about a coworker I had just recently met. The customer then assured me that the coworker had given out her former home number, no cell phone, and that coworker would be very upset if the customer wasn't able to reach her at her new home. I didn't engage that argument because it was stupid. Finally, the customer accepted that she was not going to talk to the coworker and asked if someone else could help. The answer was no, because it was well after 5 p.m. and everyone else had left, and I was not yet trained on the new product. This brought us right back to the fact that closing at 2 p.m. was ridiculous. I explained again that it's 5 p.m. where I was. We simply do not have enough employees to be covering every time zone on the planet. We have customers all over the world. We don't open 5 hours early for European customers. We don't stay open 8 hours late for Australian customers. And we don't stay open 3 hours late for Californian customers. We use East Coast hours because those hours work best for our handful of employees and their families. Customers are generally understanding, and nothing we do is that time sensitive that it can't wait until the next day. I finally said that the only choices were to try again tomorrow, or I can take a message and give it to the coworker. The customer finally agreed to give me a message, but she insisted that the coworker call her first thing. I assured her I would tell the coworker exactly that. So when the coworker came in the next morning at 9 a.m., she complied and immediately called the customer back. It was 6 a.m. her time. Woke her up. Am I the jerk for going to a family wedding my brother wasn't invited to? I'm 4 years older than my brother Mark. I never got myself into trouble and was always a great student. I graduated and found myself a great job, a loving wife, and all I've dreamed of. Mark is doing good, all things considered, but he sure went the long way. When he got to high school, he would constantly hang out with the wrong crowds and got himself into trouble very often. He barely graduated, and after that, his life went off the deep end. He failed college, only got himself dead-end jobs, and only got by with mine and my mother's help. He also got himself into meds, though I don't know how bad. Still, all things considered, he was always a very good person. Honest, and he never made excuses for himself. He was just lazy and had no direction in life. During this time, he was our extended family's black sheep, especially from our mother's side, our Aunt Mary especially. Mary is very cool, but does act a bit pretentious. Her kids worshipped Mark, and when the stories about his life started going around, half of them were lies. She started putting some distance, but would talk to Mark the same as me when we did meet. Eventually, Mark turned his life around. I don't know what happened, but I know it was really bad. Long story short, he got himself clean. 1 year after that, he was unrecognizable. He was happy, extroverted, and pretty much left his old life behind. After 8 years, he was engaged, with a job and a future. Our family knows of this, and they're happy for him. Unfortunately, Mary never abandoned her old views. She occasionally puts him down because he never went to college and doesn't respect his job. Every time I visit, she likes to show me off as her lawyer nephew, but she never invites him or even mentions him. As far as her friends know, my mother only has one son. Mark knows this and it hurts him. 2 years ago, Mary's daughter got married and they planned this huge wedding. Both me, my wife, and my mother got invited, but not Mark. We didn't know how to handle this. We asked Mary's daughter why was Mark left out, and she admitted her mother didn't want him there because it would make them look bad. We decided to go without telling him so he wouldn't get hurt. He was never even aware Mary's daughter was getting married. Of course, eventually he found out when he saw pictures on social media. He was absolutely crushed. He confronted us and said that if we were family, we should have refused to go without him. I disagreed. We fought and he went no contact. To this day, my mother feels guilty about it. This was 2 years ago. A couple of weeks ago, my mother found out that Mark just had a kid and had introduced it to our other uncles. She was very hurt since she never even knew his partner was pregnant. She asked him why he didn't tell us about his kid. His answer, "I love my son. I will always be there for him no matter what. I will not expose him to a family that will feel ashamed of him and turn him into a pariah because of some stupid choices." Your brother was hurt enough to go no contact with you for 2 years after you showed him you didn't support him, and you're only now asking this? You're the jerk 7 ways from Sunday. Right? These people only care when they want something. Usually has to do with a new baby. You're the jerk. You and your mother made crappy choices, and Mark made his reasonable one. Not really getting why you wanted to celebrate with Mary, considering that she told you flat out she was embarrassed of your brother, who by then had already turned his life around. Guess you enjoy being the successful brother. Your brother is hurt. I don't blame him. Now, because no one in his family spoke up for him, you are all going to have to work this out. To add insult to injury, his own family didn't even have the personal courage to tell him, and he found out on social media. Then you wonder why he doesn't want to be bothered with you at all. He turned his life around. Mary is judgmental, and everyone folds like a wet paper napkin for her. Shaking my head. If my son wasn't invited to a wedding because of something so lame, I wouldn't go, period. You're the jerk, and so is your mother. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his brother? Please let us know. I'm a renter? Understood. So let's start with some context. My mom and I moved into my grandma's house when I was 5. My godmother already lived with my grandma, so she was also part of the household. Firstly, my aunt has never done anything with her life. She liked to say she had to take care of my grandma, but my grandma was a feisty old lady who happily handled everything herself all the way until she got cancer in her very last years of life. She used my grandma as a crutch to never get a job or really any source of income ever. My mom and grandma paid for this house every year and kept it up and running. Fast forward to me being 22. My mom passed of cancer. We knew my grandma wouldn't be able to afford the house herself, so my wife and I stood to help because we felt bad leaving right after my mom passed. So for 2 to 3 years, we handled the house taxes, the electricity bill. When the air conditioner broke, we paid to fix that, and I also gave my grandma my old car when I got a new one, so my aunt could take her to the doctor's appointments and whatnot. I did all of this because I was taught to be there for my family by my mom. After those 2 to 3 years, my grandma passed, so now it was only our income and my aunt needing to be supported by us. Again, this is how I was taught family takes care of each other. We felt bad leaving my aunt after my grandma passed, so we stayed again, bought food for her, cooked for her. I even handled all the dishes and house cleaning. I mowed the lawn. I handled any insect issues the house was having. Even gave her our recyclables so she could at least have a little bit of money for stuff. So it finally gets to a point where I confront her and say, "Look, my mom helped pay for this house. Now I am too. My wife and I want to help you." Notice I said help and not take the house away from you. Make the house nice again. We want to get new carpet, fix the broken windows, etc. For this, though, we'd need you to co-own the house with us. We aren't going to put our money into it just for you to sell it and we end up getting done over. Or also, if you just happen to pass young, the house would just go to the bank. That's a whole nother story, but it's what will happen. She, of course, said no, but only because she wants to keep the house to herself, and I'm her ownership. She's very, very greedy and selfish like that about everything. So we end up arguing, and I say how we stayed because we cared and wanted to help. We want to continue helping, however, we won't just blindly funnel money into your home when we need to make sure our living situation is secure. During said argument, I say how we've been nothing but caring and don't want to take the house. We just want to work with her. Again, no. So I start to get frustrated, and I say, how can you be like this to me? Especially when both my mother and I have paid for this house. We put more into it than you ever have. I don't feel owed, but I feel that us working together and owning the house together would be fair, since she doesn't even pay for any of it. I said how we stayed after Grandma passed to help her. Her exact words were, "Well, you should have just left." That hurt a lot, because all that was just for nothing, not even appreciation. Fast forward to another argument, and I bring up how I feel it was wrong of her to take advantage of my mom the way she did. There's way more context to that than above, but again, it's a whole nother story. When I say I think it was wrong, her words were, "Well, take it up with your mother." That broke me because I was super close to my mom, and she had only passed for about 2 years, so it was still very painful. That was my breaking point. I could not help somebody this selfish and hurtful. I told her that that was awful of her to say that this house is ours just as much as it's hers. She says, "Christian, you guys are renters." Cue the malicious compliance. I say, "Oh, we're renters? Okay." So I started going by doing exactly what me and my grandmother agreed upon when we moved in. I pay the electric bill and the house taxes. That's it. Mowing the lawn? Sorry, wasn't part of my lease. Handling the insect infestation? Nope, landlord's issue. Cleaning your dishes and the $800 pictures you have on the walls filled with dust? Yeah, not my problem. My wife and I care for ourselves now. Her house is going more and more to ruin. Windows have broken more. The air conditioning broke again. The shower broke. Water heater broke and damaged the living room and walls. Termites in all of the wood. All not my problems. My wife and I are currently in the process of finding a place and moving out. We might not even tell her when we do move and just up and leave, letting her sit in her own filth. I mean, it's not in my lease that I need to give her a notice. Yup, leave and don't look back. My mom fell for something similar with her sister who was a paraplegic. My mom took care of her day in and day out, retired early so Auntie wouldn't have to go to a nursing home. She was supposed to give my mom some jewelry and stuff from their mother. Delay until my aunt passed. In the will, left everything to my uncle who didn't do anything and left nothing to my mom. Don't fall for it. Just save yourselves. Those kinds of people are lost causes. And when social services show up at your door, tell them you want nothing to do with her. She made her bed. Time for her to lie in it. Am I the jerk for refusing to split the costs with my ex-wife for my daughter's car? My ex-wife has majority custody of my daughter, Corrine, who's 17. Corrine only comes to our house every other Monday to Tuesday of the weekend. Then she spends the next week completely at my ex-wife's. My stepdaughter, Mackenzie, who's 20, lives full-time at me and my new wife's house. I want to mention that my ex-wife makes almost triple what I make. I'm certainly not poor, and my new wife and I are upper middle class. The point is, my ex-wife and her new husband aren't strapped for cash. Corrine got her driver's license last week, but she's had a car that my ex-wife bought her since she got her permit about a year ago. Before she bought it, my ex-wife wanted me to split the costs of the car with her. I told her no, because it was absolutely ridiculous that she would expect me to pay 50% for a car that would come to my house less than a quarter of the time. That's like paying full rent on a house and only being allowed to live in it half the time. My ex-wife was able to pay for the car on her own anyway. Corrine just got her license, and I was excited because she would be able to drive herself to and from school. However, my ex-wife will not allow Corrine to take her car to our house. I've tried reasoning with my ex-wife because Corrine has her license now, and she shouldn't have to waste time taking the bus on days when she's going to and from houses. My ex-wife is being childish and saying that if I want Corrine to be able to bring her car here, then I need to split the gas and insurance with her. I told my ex-wife I'm willing to split the costs of gas, but I should not have to split insurance when she has chosen the insurance company and policy while I did not even get a say in it. A family friend, Lydia, is calling me a hypocrite because I completely bought Mackenzie's car and pay for the insurance and gas. Mackenzie's biological father is a bum. She doesn't have another well-off parent to pay for it like Corrine does. And besides, Corrine's here only a quarter of the time. I told Corrine this, and if she wants me to buy her a car for here, then we can always go back to court and try to get more custody time at my house. Corrine hasn't complained about it anyway. But Lydia says it's not the point, and Corrine will feel replaced if I refuse to split costs with my ex-wife while paying fully for Mackenzie. But Corrine has not said anything about feeling replaced or complained over the car arrangement. Besides, Corrine and Mackenzie have treated each other like best friends for a few years now, and I highly doubt that will change over a car that Corrine knows Mackenzie's other biological parent can't afford. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. The argument that you shouldn't have to pay because the car is only at your house 1/4 of the time is the stupidest argument. It will be in your daughter's possession 100% of the time, and you are responsible for 50% of her care. Regardless of what her mother earns in proportion to your income, you're the jerk a million times. You're the jerk. So you don't want to pay for a car that rarely comes to your house? How about paying for a car for your kid that you brought into the world? You treat your stepdaughter better than your own kid. No wonder your ex divorced you. You're the jerk. You expect your ex-wife to pay the entire cost for a car because you chose to pay for your stepdaughter's car? It isn't your ex-wife's fault you made that decision, and I doubt she had any say in it. I also think that if you expect people to say exactly how they feel, especially kids, then perhaps you don't know your daughter as much as you should. Not the jerk. When I see stories like this, it makes me so glad I never got married or had kids. I'm 42, and most of my friends never stop complaining about their wives or how spoiled their kids are. Some of them don't even get to see their kids. They just pay child support while the new stepdad gets to spend all the time with them. I don't understand why guys still want to risk this kind of thing in the world we live in today. The most stressful things I have to deal with every day are deciding whether I want Pizza Hut or Taco Bell, and which girlfriend I'm inviting over tonight. Not the jerk, I feel your pain, bro. My ex does the same thing to me. We had 2 daughters together that are both about to start middle school. I rarely, if ever, get to see them. She doesn't even let me see them on court-appointed dates because they'd rather stay home. I've tried to go pick them up myself when it's my turn to have them, but her new husband is twice the size of me. Dude knocked me out cold one time, and ever since then, I know not to go over there. Just like your ex, mine also makes double what I do, yet forces me to pay at least half of everything when I never even get to see my kids. People hear my story and they assume I'm some kind of deadbeat dad. No, I love my kids more than anything. They just don't love me, thanks to the lies their cheater of a mother told them. I did everything I could to keep our family together, but ultimately, I couldn't stay with a woman who I caught cheating 3 times. I love my kids, but sometimes I just wish that I had never met their mother. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.